Peace and blessings, everyone. I'm Adam Malachi Israel, reporting to you live from the land of Israel. And I'm here to let you know that some very important things going on in the earth that you need to be very aware of. We're dealing with demonic spirits that I think they change times and laws. So with the JFK assassination, I bear witness for a guaranteed fact that JFK was only in the car with four people, including himself, his wife, the driver, and the passenger, which was not Governor Connally at all. So now in this reality that we live in, you have six people in the car. You have a middle row with Governor Connally and his wife Nellie in the car. And supposedly in this new reality, Governor Connally has been shot with a bullet that had hit Kennedy and it entered through his back, went through his fifth rib, exited out his chest, hit him in the right wrist, and lodged into his leg. Now, if this is true and this reality actually happened, then when you hear this testimony of Governor Connally, you will be able to see if this man is giving you a true testimony of events that he know for sure took place if he was actually in the car. But instead, when you pay attention to Governor Connally and his testimony, he's going to be showing you that he's giving you code. He's giving us code, believe it or not, from the past to the future to let us know that this has not happened. He know that this has not happened and that he is actually being forced to participate in the changing of times. So when we think about the Mandela Effect and we think about all these things that's been changing physically in the earth, it's real. It's absolutely real without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm going to be able to prove this for all the eyes that can see, for all those who have eyes to see and come out of this matrix. You'll be able to see this footage. You'll be able to assess what I'm saying. You'll be able to read the body language of Governor Connally because the footage of Governor Connally never existed in the past. This never existed because because President Kennedy wasn't in the car with him when he was assassinated. It never happened. So now in this timeline you can look up Governor Connally and you can look up him giving his detailed analysis on what happened with him being in the car. So that's all we have to do is find the breadcrumbs. Everybody is staying stuck on the fact that it was only four people in the car, six people in the car, da 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 da. Nobody has done the research to look into Governor Connally and to be able to see his testimony. If he was in the car, he left the testimony. Look at this testimony that I'm about to show you and be able to witness what he's doing. So right here is a short clip of, new videos on YouTube talking about this. There's not really that many videos talking about the JFK assassination, but when they're talking about this, they only talking about how people was in the car. So here is a short video clip of that before I go into Governor Connally.
In the car in which John F. Kennedy was assassinated, there were 6 passengers. Like so many people, over the course of my life, I've had a very avid interest in the JFK assassination, the various theories about it, the political ramifications. So I, like so many people, have studied at length. I've watched the videos over and over, the Zapruder films, every piece of footage you could get on it. So I've seen that clip probably thousands of times, like most people. There's no way in my mind you could tell me there were 6 people in that car. I've seen it so many times. There were 4 people, 2 in front, 2 in back, Jackie and JFK in the back. Now you look at those clips, there's a middle seat with 2 people in there too. And that blows my mind more than me, I think. The car JFK was assassinated had 4 people. I would almost swear to that. All I remember is Governor Connally was in front of JFK. I don't know the intricacies. I just remember what my own eyes saw, and that was 4 people sitting in the car. From what I understand, there's residual evidence of this one as well. In at least one museum is a replica car, a replica of the car JFK was sitting in when he was assassinated. And that car has 4 seats, not 6. And that's in an esteemed museum. I don't understand how somebody would make a mistake of that magnitude by leaving 2 middle seats out. So I would call that residual evidence. And I mean, the more I read about the Mandela Effect, the more it just blew me away, spooked me, and just kind of makes you rethink everything you thought you knew.
And so there you have it. you see there's videos of only talking about how many people was in the car. And I know for a fact, I can swear it for sure that I can recant the details of seeing the old Zaberta film from the past because I studied the assassination. I know all about the details of it. It was written about in William Cooper's book, A Pale Horse, A Pale White Horse. In that book, he detailed all of the secret government situations and about the assassination of Kennedy and how Kennedy was going to tell he was going to tell the American people that the government was dealing with extraterrestrials and had made an agreement with them and that these beings and these non-human beings was real. So they assassinated this man for this. This is the reason why they had to cover this up. This would happen. President Eisenhower was the one who had supposedly met with these beings and made an agreement with them that they can take some of the humans and be able to exchange that, would be able to give technology. They would abduct humans for studies, but they will bring them back without no memory of being taken. And in exchange, they'll be able to give the government technology. So this is all written in William Cooper's book, A Pale White Horse. Understand, he details the events of Kennedy being assassinated. He lets you know that it was the driver who shot Kennedy in the head, that he had shot him in the head. He says, pay attention to the video, which I did reading the book, and you can see how the driver would turn because it was only a 4-seat car. So in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat, that's the open space where the armrest is at. That was let down. So in between that space, he said with a 45 caliber gun, he shot Kennedy in the head, which is why you see Kennedy go backwards from the last shot when he got shot in the neck that made him go forward. The second shot made him fling backwards. So that's the original footage. That's what I was able to study. Now you have Governor Connally and his wife in the car. This never existed. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you this testimony of Governor Connally now. Governor Connally is going to give us an actual reenactment of what took place with him being in the car in this reality. And for all those who have eyes and ears to see, this is no game. Pay attention to the body language. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to let him speak. And then I'm going to go back to it and revisit again and show you and break down to you what I know that I'm seeing.
Do you still feel any stiffness in your right wrist, any permanent disability there?
I wouldn't call it a permanent disability, although I certainly have a stiffness in the right wrist. I can't turn the wrist over, and obviously reminded of it every day, every time I eat a meal, because I can't rotate the wrist enough to properly get a fork to my mouth as you normally can.
Wait a minute. I got to say something. I got to break this down for you. You see, he said he can't rotate his wrist normally with the fork to get, to eat like he wants to, because he supposedly got shot with the bullet also in his wrist. So notice how he moves his right wrist that's supposed to have been shot and hit with a bullet, how he's moving around like there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with it. He's doing that on purpose.
Describe for us, if you remember them, the sequence of events, say, from the time the procession began up to the point of leaves. What's updated was?
Right here, you can hear that somebody's asking him questions. You can't really hear the questions. I can't really give them to you right now. You got to go into this footage and be able to actually see for yourself, rewatch this footage. But when you see right there, a big shadow goes past him, and look at his facial reaction and his expression to that happening. So you can see that it's like he's kind of startled by what's in front of him.
Events, say, from the time the procession began up to the point of leaves. What's updated was?
Well, we had started the day, as you know, in Fort Worth. We'd arrived there late the night of the 21st from Houston in a drizzling rain. We woke up the next morning of the 22nd, with the rain continuing. A temporary platform had been erected on the parking lot opposite the Texas Hotel, and the president and vice president and I and others had gone over to make an appearance on this temporary parking lot.
They made an appearance on a temporary parking lot. He's saying that they had to go to this temporary parking lot. So I just said that I'm not gonna do nothing about this until the video is finished. I'm sorry, I apologize right before in the beginning. I gotta break this down to you right now so you can understand what's going on.
And from there, we went back into the hotel for the breakfast. The warmth and enthusiasm of the crowd was, I thought, immense and spontaneous, both at the appearance on the parking lot and certainly the breakfast where there was an overflow crowd. All went off extremely well. I thought President Kennedy was in high good humor. Miss Kennedy came in and joined us at breakfast along with Mrs. Johnson, and everything proceeded on schedule. We left to go to Dallas, and about the time we arrived in Dallas, the sun broke clear. It looked to be a perfectly wonderful day. The procession from the Dallas airport downtown was in keeping with all the others that we'd had in Texas. They were all very nice, and the crowds were huge, warm, and enthusiastic. The crowds at the airport were large. As we left the airport, headed toward town, out through the residential area, of course, the crowds were not as immense as they were in the downtown area. As we approached the downtown area of Dallas, tremendous in size and warmth for the president and the first lady. I was tremendously pleased because of the outpouring of a spontaneous nature on the part of the throngs that just literally jammed the streets.
Said it's a spontaneous nature of the throngs of the people that just jammed the streets. They didn't expect for this to happen. He's telling you how leading up to this, all of these events was really strange, how it all was taking place. He's hinting to you this.
We had just gone through the downtown area and were turning to go on the freeway, the Stemmons Freeway, going to the luncheon that had been planned. We were all extremely exuberant about it, very, very well pleased in the light of everything that had happened. This was the president's first visit to Texas, and we were not only in a great luncheon, but looking forward to a tremendous dinner in Austin the night of the 22nd, which had been very carefully planned. People from all over Texas were already gathering in large groups in Austin. As we turn to...
So catch what he said. He said that they had a dinner planned for Austin, which is the capital of Texas, way away from Dallas. He said there was a whole situation that was planned in Austin, and all the people from around Texas was already gathering in Austin for the appearance of the president, not Dallas. Another hint.
Go down to enter the freeway. The first inkling that, of course, that I had that anything was amiss, I heard a shot, what I thought was a shot. Others said a sound, but I thought it was a shot. I'd heard too many rifle shots in my life not to be.
He in the car, he said he thought he heard a shot. He said others say it was a sound, but he thought it was a shot. Why does it matter what other people said if he's in the car and this is what happened? Another hint.
Able to identify one, and no thought crossed my mind except that it was a rifle shot. I immediately became concerned and try sitting on the jump seat immediately in front of the president in his limousine. I started to turn to my right to see if everything was all right with him. I never completed my return, although I did not see him out of the corner of my eye, and I was in the process of turning to my left to look back over my left shoulder when I felt a tremendous impact, as if someone was here in the back with a closed fist. It was not a sharp pain. It was not a sensation of being hit by a bullet. I had no way to gauge that experience, of course, but
He got no way to gauge that experience of being hit by it. This is what he just said. He said it felt like he felt like a punch instead of a bullet hitting him in the back that pierced through his chest, came out through his ribs, hit him in the wrist, and hit him in the leg. All of that felt like a punch, not like a shot, because that's not experience he can even imagine how to reenact that. So this is the jewel he's dropping for you right here, letting you know he was not in the car.
I merely felt as if someone had hit me a very hard blow with a closed fist, knocking me forward. The first time I really was conscious
You see the motion that he made knocking him forward? That's the same motion, exact motion that President Kennedy made in the car. He's showing you that was President Kennedy in the car, not him. You wouldn't see him and Kennedy making the exact same motion forward from being shot with the same bullet. That's ridiculous. And if he got shot in the shoulder and he moved forward, how is it that he get hit in the wrist and it travels to his left leg? Pay attention, everyone. This is real. He's giving you the signs.
I had been hit was when I bent over as a result of the impact of the bullet. I could see blood all over my clothing. I knew then.
You don't get blood all over your clothing. You got a suit on and you get shot with one bullet that pierces through you like this. It don't go splashing out all over you where you got blood all over your clothes automatically. I've been shot and the bullets have hit through me and they did not splash all over the outside of my clothes or even in the inside, really, because of that. The blood was bleeding internally inside my stomach when I got shot with one of the bullets that hit me in the side of the back. I know exactly what it's like to be shot, and you would not have no blood splashed all over you instantly from out of your clothes from a bullet like this. Pay attention to detail.
Of course, that I had been hit, and I said to Nellie, "My God, they're going to kill us both." She immediately reached over and grabbed me, and I suppose as a result of my own crumpling and her putting her arm around me and pulling me down into my head down into her lap, and then she bent over me and very quietly talked to me, saying, be still, you're going to be all right."
So this is the actions that he's telling you that his wife did while they're in the car. She's not panicking. She's not screaming. In fact, she's covering him and wrapping him up and saying, be still, everything's going to be all right. Is this the actions of a woman that you know of when her husband has been shot and the president behind her is supposed to have been shot so gruesomely in such a way that they describe? Is this the actions of one woman trying to flee from out of the car and the other woman just calmly covering up her husband and telling him to be still and be quiet? Pay attention.
I was conscious then of hearing a third shot. I say a third shot. I was not conscious really of hearing the second shot, the bullet that hit me. I very clearly heard the third one.
He didn't hear the second shot, the bullet that hit him. He very conscious of the third shot, but he didn't hear the second shot that hit him. That's another hint. Pay attention to what he's saying here. Let me go back a little bit.
Be still, you're going to be all right. I was conscious then of hearing a third shot. I say a third shot. I was not conscious really of hearing the second shot, the bullet that hit me. I very clearly heard the third one. They were coming in very rapid fire order, and I knew as a result of the third shot that someone certainly, and I assume the president had been hit a fatal blow because I could see the evidence of it.
He assumed certainly someone had been hit a fatal blow. Certainly someone. I assume the president. No, we only in the car together, and we only both getting shot. And someone, I assume the president, was probably shot with a fatal blow. You don't know who's killed instantly, but he's saying, I'm assuming that somebody's automatically dead from this. You understand? And nobody's talking about this man having a testimony about what happened to him being in the car.
All over my clothing and all over the car. I was conscious up to that point with my eyes open. And shortly thereafter, as the car broke out of the procession and began to speed away, I lost consciousness and was unconscious until we came to a halt in front of the hospital itself.
He said when the car sped off after they was being shot, he immediately lost consciousness and then regained consciousness when they got back, when they arrived at the hospital. So all of a sudden, at this scene of being shot, his memory blanks out. He loses consciousness. He just faints and passes out of nowhere, and he don't have consciousness until they appear back at the hospital. Watch how he's giving you these details to show you that this is a time travel situation. It's going to be hard for y'all to pick this up and understand this, but this is real, and this ain't going to be licensing, camera action for y'all, for me to show you something nice and a real cool footage on YouTube videos to edit this up, but this is raw and real for you. So open your eyes and see.
Did you regain consciousness immediately upon arriving at the hospital?
Yes, I regained consciousness immediately upon arriving at the hospital. I think it was probably the braking action of the car. We obviously had been traveling at a tremendous rate of speed, and when they stopped, apparently the action of stopping the car made me regain consciousness.
He lost consciousness when they pulled off from being shot, and all of a sudden he regains consciousness because the brake of the car, the driver hit the brakes so hard and they're driving so fast that he jerks up, basically, because that's the only way you just wake up from being in a car. Joking, if you're sleeping in a car, this is how that happens. So this is what he's telling you. It's like a joke. He's playing on the understanding of what's happening here.
And it's a rather peculiar thing. I think that enters your mind at moments of crises like this. It's strange, I suppose, what you think of.
It's a real peculiar thing. It enters your mind. He's talking about these demons that's right here in front of him, forcing him to do this part of reality that never existed. So pay attention and look at the shadows in the background. Pay attention that there's demons in the background that's intimidating him, and he got to keep a straight face in order to give this testimony and make this look like this really happened in real life. Amazing. Let me go back a little bit for you.
Consciousness immediately upon arriving at the hospital?
Yes, I regained consciousness immediately upon arriving at the hospital. I think it was probably the braking action of the car. We obviously had been traveling at a tremendous rate of speed, and when they stopped, apparently the action of stopping the car made me regain consciousness. And it's
right here. You can see this shadow that just stepped up into in front of his face. This is not a human structure, but this is a being. This is an actual being that just moved into the shadow right here. And you can see at 7 minutes, 57 seconds, you come right here and you'll see what steps in front of him. This is not some type of camera structure. This is not some type of post they put up here. This is a being that just stepped in front of him.
It's a rather peculiar thing.
And this is when he said, it's a rather peculiar thing, because they're trying to punk him and let him, be intimidated by his testimony. But watch how he's showing you this. Watch this. This is crazy. This is happening.
Taking action of the car. We obviously had been traveling at a tremendous rate of speed, and when they stopped, apparently the action of stopping the car made me regain consciousness. And it's a rather peculiar thing. I think that enters your mind at moments of crises like this. It's strange, I suppose, what you think of. I had, of course, been Secretary of the Navy. I knew that as a result of that experience and my experience during the war that junior officers, for instance, are always first in a car or a boat and always last out. The senior officer is always the last in and the first out.
So he's giving another hint right here. Junior officers always the first in, last out. Senior officers always the last in, first out. Giving you an example of how it happens when if he was in the car and this situation happened, Kennedy was supposed to be the first one to be getting out of the car from being shot. But because he was in the car and he would be considered a junior officer being a governor, he was the one who was taken out the car first before Kennedy. So he's giving you a military detailed understanding of, in his analysis, he's giving us code from the past and letting you know that by the chain of events that took place, the Kennedy was supposed to be tended to first. So watch how he gives you this analogy.
Been Secretary of the Navy. I knew that as a result of that experience and my experience during the war that junior officers, for instance, are always first in a car or a boat and always last out. The senior officer is always the last in and the first out, whether it's a car or plane or boat or whatever. The senior officer always walks on the right, the junior officers to the left. So as I regained consciousness, the only thought that went through my mind was that every effort would be made to immediately get the president out of the car. And I was sitting in front of him on the jump seat by the door, and I knew it would be difficult, if not impossible, to get him out of the car without me getting out. So without saying anything, but motivated by my thoughts, I tried to raise myself up and get out of the car without any help so that they could get to the president. I didn't have the strength to do it.
Now look how he gives this smirking reaction, saying that he tried to get himself out of the car without any help, knowing that if this is an emergency situation, by the time they get to the hospital, everybody should already be on alert at the hospital to rush and snatch everybody out the car for sure. Now he's sitting there saying that there's enough time for him to realize, oh, the president needs to get out the car. Maybe I should help myself out of the car because nobody realizes that I'm shot. Not even my wife realized that I'm shot. So maybe I should try to get myself out of the car so the president can get out of the car, since he's in the back seat of this extended limo now, to where is that I have to get out first in order for him to get out the car, which would never happen.
No one knew why I was doing it. Nellie later said she wondered what I was trying to do when I forcefully lifted my head up and tried to rise out of the seat. And of course, when I did so, I crumpled again. Someone later then, I heard the talk that was going on around the car. I was conscious during this time, and someone then bodily just lifted me out of the car.
He was conscious and heard talk going on around the car, and someone bodily lifted him out the car. Now, why is it even talk going on around the car? Why are they even speaking when the president has been shot? He's been shot. They should just be getting him out the car. But it's talk going on around the car as they get in front of the hospital, and then someone bodily picks him up out of the car, is what he says. So how did his wife get out the car? He don't even say.
And of course, then they took the president out. They put me on a stretcher and wheeled me into the hospital. I didn't know exactly where I was, except I knew it was a hospital because I could see the orderlies, the nurses, and hear the talk.
He didn't know exactly where he was, but he knew it was a hospital. If you shot, you know you're going to the hospital automatically. So he said, I don't even know where I was, but I know it was a hospital because I can see the doctors and the nurses and everybody looked like they was dressed like they was in hospital gear. but I don't know if I was actually in the hospital is what he's telling you.
And this was the first time that I began to feel any pain. And at this point, the pain became excruciating.
He didn't feel no pain getting shot. He didn't feel no pain going to the actual hospital all this time while he was unconscious and all of this. He ain't feel no pain getting out, getting bodily removed out of the car. He felt pain when he got into that hospital for the first time, this so-called hospital, and he started to see all of these people. He said, this for the first time I felt excruciating pain. That's when it all kicked in, how dangerous this was. That's what he's telling us.
It was a very, very intense pain, which I felt at this time.
Governor, last year you told us that the assassination is still something I think about quite often. And 2 months ago, Chicago said it's almost a nightmare. Do you think about it now less than you did during the first year?
No, I don't think about it any less. I think about it constantly. As I told you a moment ago, I think about it almost every day. I think about it almost every time I sit down to a meal and pick up a fork or a spoon. I think the intensity of the feeling has perhaps diminished somewhat because memory fortunately dulls the sharpness of a great tragedy, which this was. And I try not to consciously think about it, although it's obvious that every time I take a shower or go swimming, I think about it because I see the scars from the operation. So it's not something that I'm going to ever escape from. It's something that I nevertheless try to relegate to proper perspective. And in that context, let me say that I have reluctantly agreed to talk to you gentlemen today because I personally feel, and Nellie feels, I think that this is no longer a subject that we should discuss in detail in public, and I have tried to refrain from doing so as much as I possibly could. It's no longer a matter of news. It's no longer a matter of front page information. I don't personally like to relive the tragedy. It is something that.
So notice how he said he don't want to relive the tragedy. So all of these events he gave you right now, he letting you know that this was something that was coerced. It's as a terrifying understanding that he got to relive this reality and be able to do these chain of events over again. Pay attention to the details.
In my judgment, should be relegated to the pages of history, a dark and tragic page of history. But nevertheless, it is now a matter of history.
This should be left to history. This should have never been changed. And it should have been left as a dark situation that happened and should have never been reenacted and happened again. But nevertheless, it is a matter of history now, a new history, where in this reality, we're seeing him in the car when he was never in the car. And this testimony never existed, but now it exists. So this is the breadcrumbs that you have to pay attention to for all those who believe and understand that there was a Mandela Effect situation with Kennedy. This is the proof.
One that I think proves the strength and the resiliency of this country, of its people, of its form of government. That we suffered great shock, great crisis, and yet we rebounded immediately, and not in any sense have we permitted what has to be one of the great national tragedies to warp us or to make us lose a perspective of our mission as individuals
or make us lose
or as a nation.
Perspective of our mission.
So I say to you that I have granted this interview today because I think perhaps I should, not because I want to, but I hope that the outcome of the interview will be in perspective, that we're discussing not a not a newsworthy item as such, but rather we're remembering in perspective a terrible tragedy that befell this nation.
Was this something